Welcome to those of you who have just joined. My name is Jennifer. My pronouns are she, her, and we would like to start today with a land acknowledgement. While you may be joining us from all over the world, today we are here in London, Ontario. We acknowledge the Anishinaabeg, Haudenosaunee, Lenape-Wauk, and Andawandaran peoples whose traditional lands we are gathered upon today. Welcome. We're so excited to have you here for our nursing event. Now, before I go through the itinerary for tonight, let's go through a few housekeeping items. First, just so you know, we are recording this session. It's going to be available on our website in a few days on the same page you went to for registration, welcome.uwo.ca/presentations. Next, we have enabled live closed captioning for this webinar. If you would like to turn it on, you'll find the live transcript button on the bottom bar. You'll just go to show subtitle. A box will appear and you can put it wherever you'd like to on the screen. The other option is to choose view full transcript. And what happens there is a transcript will pop up on the side. Just remember, this is live closed captioning. We cannot guarantee the accuracy. Next, your video and your audio will remain off today, but that doesn't mean we won't be interacting. We're going to have polls throughout the event, and we also want to answer all of your questions. You can submit a question using the Q&A box. You'll find this on the bottom of your screen. You can enter your questions now or whenever you think of them throughout the webinar. I'm joined by lots of friends from Western tonight. We have staff, we have students. We will do our best to answer all of the questions that come up. We're also going to choose some of the common questions and answer them all together live at the end. So what else is happening tonight? Well, I went a little fast there. There you go. There's the itinerary of events. We are going to start with a welcome from Dr. Victoria Smye, the director of the School of Nursing at Western. Then Jessica Timbrell, who's the co-associate director of undergraduate nursing programs at Western, is going to help you understand what it's really like in nursing. We'll go through your courses, the experience you could have, and more. Next up, a mini lecture with Amy Horton. It's a sample of a course about clinical judgment. And after that, we're going to let our students take over for a panel and tell you what it is really like at Western. Finally, we'll all join together at the end and answer some questions live. We hope that you can join us for the entire event tonight, but if you can't, no worries. As I mentioned, it is being recorded and that will be available on our website. And don't forget to sign up for our other events too. We do have more coming up all this spring. You can find those on our website. If you haven't attended, there's the Next Steps presentation, which we highly recommend everybody watch the Next Steps presentation so you know what to do before coming to Western. We also have some special presentations about residence, if you're thinking about living in residence, student experience, and some other student panels. That website is right there, welcome.uwo.ca/presentations. Okay, well, without further ado, let's get started. I would like to introduce Dr. Victoria Smye. She is the director of the School of Nursing at Western. Take it away and welcome.
Thanks so much, Jennifer. I'm here tonight to welcome you on behalf of the Arthur Labatt Family School of Nursing at Western. As introduced, my name is Victoria Smye, and I am faculty and the director here in the school. First, I want to say that I have never been more proud to be a nurse than at this time in my 50-year career. I am so grateful for the monumental work of nursing happening at the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic, whether in the hospital care, home care, public health, community health, or long-term care, whether in urban or rural and remote settings, wherever nurses are there. Of course, there are other amazing healthcare professionals. We work in an interprofessional way, but nurses are those healthcare providers who spend most of the time with patients, clients, and their families, and they are most often the linkage between the patient and the interprofessional team. It goes without saying that we're living in a new time, and although a challenging time because of the pandemic, it is an exciting time to enter into nursing. It is a good time to see nurses working to their full scope of practice, nurses working to their potential. It is a great time to learn the work of nurses and their place in the interdisciplinary team. So what are we doing here at Western? To ensure the well-being of the nursing workforce and our communities of practice, that is the people we are serving, we are committed to continuing to maintain the highest Canadian standards in nursing education. We do. We are committed to graduating the next generation of leaders in healthcare, not only graduates who are skills and abilities competent, but those who are thinking competent. That is, they're critical thinkers, problem solvers, and decision makers. People who will pick up the mantle and live as leaders in the moment, wherever that happens to be, at the bedside, as educators, researchers, policy makers, whatever. Nursing is a smorgasbord of possibilities. It is the greatest profession ever. The impact of COVID-19 has shed light on a number of health and social inequities and need. And we need a nursing workforce prepared to work in critical care, emergency, intensive care, palliative care, mental health care, substance use. We need a workforce who can effectively work in public health, home care, and long-term care, just as a few examples. Notably, here at Western, we prepare a cadre of well-educated nurses able to respond appropriately in all of these areas. It is our challenge in this new area, but is what we do. Nurses rise to the challenge. We always have and we always will. We advocate and we work with our communities of practice to make the necessary changes required to meet the needs. So for example, right now we have nursing students who are working as volunteers in screening and vaccination sites, all of this while they're going to school. Wow. I mean, they're amazing. There are so many examples of nurses, including our nursing students and our graduates, going well beyond the call of duty in so many ways. And that is because they are well prepared. I'm inspired by our students and nursing colleagues every single day. Nurses work together for the community good, for social justice, and again, they do it everywhere, at the bedside, home, community, and on it goes. I welcome you tonight to hear more about our program, which is marked by excellence in education and research and innovation. Being at Western over the last, it'll be soon to be 5 years, has been the pinnacle of my career. We are purple and proud, and we welcome you tonight. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much, and please stay safe.
Thank you so much, Victoria, for that very warm welcome. I think you summed up a lot of points there very eloquently. So thank you. We appreciate that. Now that we know a little bit about nursing and what we're going to be doing tonight, it is time that we get to know you a bit. We have almost 97 of you out there, and we want to know a few things about you. So we're going to start with a couple polls here to find out where you're from. Are you from London, Ontario, like many of us are on this webinar tonight? Are you from somewhere else in Ontario? Are you from somewhere else in Canada that is not Ontario? Or are you from outside of Canada? Give you a few seconds here to get in your answer for where are you from? Okay, last chance to vote in 3, 2, 1. Okay, it looks like 72% of you are from somewhere in Ontario. Welcome. We're so glad that you could be here tonight. 18% from right here in London. Hello, nice to have you here. 8% from somewhere else in Canada. Welcome. And 3% of you outside Canada. We are so happy to have so many of you here today. Thank you so much for being here. Now let's find out who is with you. Are you perhaps just by yourself, which is totally fine? Did you bring a parent or a guardian to come watch with you? Maybe a sibling, a younger brother or sister or someone, maybe an older sibling? Do you have a friend with you? Or perhaps you brought the dog or the cat, or there's a pet. There's nothing wrong with that either, especially in this working and doing school from home environment. Okay, let's do a couple more seconds here. Let you get your vote in. Ending it in 3, 2, 1. 69% of you, it's just you. Welcome. We're happy you could be here. 15% of you have some parents or guardians around. Hello, parents and guardians. 3%, you got that sibling to come there. Hello, welcome. 1% with friends. And we've got some animals here as well. 12% of you with your dog or your cats or your other pet. Very cool. Thank you for being here. Okay, now for our final poll. before we get started on the next presentation. This one's going to be a little quiz. Let's find out if you know a thing or two about Western. What does Western not have on campus? Does Western not have a movie theater, a greenhouse, a statue of President Alan Shepard, or a hospital? What does Western not have on campus? Don't worry, it's okay if you don't get it right. We're just guessing. Okay, what does Western not have on campus? Take your guess. I'm going to close it down in 3, 2, 1. Oh, it looks like we've got you. What does Western not have on campus? 42% of you said a movie theater. Western most certainly does have a movie theater on campus. Now, the next one, oh, it's very close here. 24% of you said a statue of President Alan Shepard and 22% said a hospital. Well, I can tell you we do have a hospital on campus and 24% of you are correct. It's a statue of President Alan Shepard. So we do have a movie theater, we do have a greenhouse, and we have a hospital right on campus. Thank you for participating in our polls. It's always fun to interact a little bit with all of you who are here, and we're going to do a few more polls later on. But for now, let's find out what it is really like to be in nursing at Western. We're going to get to our next presentation. It's with Jessica Timbrell, who's the Co-Associate Director of Undergraduate Nursing Programs, and she's going to go over what nursing is like. Jessica, you can join me now.
There I am. Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Timbrell, and I am the Co-Associate Director of Undergrad Programs at Western, and my other co is Amy Horton, whom you'll meet pretty soon. Today, I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'm going to go through what our program looks like if we kind of break it down into years and what collaborative means. What is a collaborative nursing program? And also there's some interesting pictures for you to look at, but it should answer a lot of the questions that you might have right now. But certainly if not, there's going to be lots of time to answer those questions afterwards. So let me share my screen here. And I'm pretty sure you can see that. So welcome.
Yes, that looks great.
Presentation of our nursing program. See it? Good. Okay. There's me. So I'm also a lecturer, so that means I also teach in our program. I teach primarily in years 1 and 2, and I teach in both our undergraduate collaborative and our compressed timeframe program, which we'll talk about a wee bit, but most of you are very likely more interested in the collaborative program. So that's what this presentation mostly focuses on. So here we are. What is a collaborative program? The Western Fanshawe Collaborative BSCN program. It's pretty straightforward. It's a program that's offered jointly by these two institutions. And we do that so that we can educate more nurses. If you look at the breakdown here, you can see that years 1 and 2, there's students actually at both sites. So years 1 and 2, you'll be at Western or at Fanshawe. You don't bounce back and forth for courses or anything like that. But by the time year 3 comes, everyone comes together. So everyone who spent their first 2 years at Fanshawe comes over to Western. And for those last 2 years of your program, you're all together and you all graduate together with Western's Bachelor of Science degree in nursing. So let's break down the years of this program. There's 4 years of this program. Year 1, what does it look like? It looks like this. It focuses very much on the foundations, and foundations is even a word in a couple of the course titles because we're trying to lay the foundation upon which all of the learning in future years will build. So in term 1 of your first year, you'll be taking these courses: Foundational Concepts of Nursing, Health Promotion and Caring for Self, Colleagues, and Clients, Holistic Health Assessment, and Human Anatomy. Now, Holistic Health Assessment is your course that has a theory and a lab component. So you're getting into the hands-on stuff, right away with clinical skills when you get into those labs that accompany your theory course. And you'll see in term 2, there's holistic health assessment 2. And so that's more lab and theory courses. And that's where you're learning primarily about physical assessment. And so that also means that that human anatomy will help you in terms of learning about physical assessment and the foundational concepts to kind of give you a springboard to launch into further years and expand your nursing knowledge. You'll see we also have a full year course in here, human physiology you'll take in first year, and that spans across both terms. And you have a writing course too. And you might think that it sort of sticks out as like this thing is not like the others. And the reason that writing course is there is because this is a professional program, and there are papers that you're going to write, and scholarly papers are different than perhaps the papers and kinds of assignments that you've been doing up until this point. And so we provide this writing course to kind of get you thinking about and looking at the ways that scholarly papers at the university level are written. Okay, let's move on to year 2. So year 2, health promotion and caring, families and communities. And term 2, you'll see the other bolded title there, health promotion and caring, supporting health. So in this year, we divide you in half. Half of you start with health promotion and caring, families and communities, and the other half of you start with supporting health. And then when the term changes, you flop to the other course. So you've got an informatics course, so dealing with everything to do with data and technology in healthcare and in nursing. Pathology for nursing, so once you've got kind of that physiology base from first year, you're going to build on that a little bit with now looking at disease process and looking at pathology for nursing. Now, there wasn't an opportunity for an elective in year 1, but there is in year 2. 2 of them actually, 1 in each term. Sometimes students wonder, what should I take for my elective? What do you recommend? We recommend that you take what you want to take and follow your interests. Sometimes that means sticking within health. So a lot of students, maybe take a psychology course, or they stick with something health related, the social sciences. And some students branch way out and take something completely outside of nursing. And both of those things are perfectly okay. You'll get more and more information about what kinds of electives are available and fit your schedule later on, but you don't have to think about those for year 1, but you get into it in year 2. Okay, a research course comes in term 2, and you've got your introduction to pharmacology and therapeutics. So this is where you start getting into medications, and nurses, of course, are responsible for preparing and administering medications, but you can't administer medications if you don't understand what they are, what they do, what they're for. So that's what your pharmacology course will prepare you for. Okay. Let's look at year 3. In year 3, so now everybody has come from the Fanshawe site, and we're all together in a big happy family over here at Western. And in term 1 of year 3, you're going to take a data analysis course. And so a lot of the focus of this course is learning how to understand and read research, because everything nurses do is evidence informed. So you need to understand about research and how to analyze it, read it, understand it. Health promotion and caring, clients with health challenges. You'll see here, this is your first opportunity for professional practice. 144 hours of hospital or acute care practice. So these placements are not chosen by you, they're assigned, and we have, you'll see in a few more slides, you'll see the size of our LIN. We have very diverse and exciting placements of all sorts, certainly acute care ones. And so that's your first exposure there to offsite acute care. Microbiology and immunology for nursing. So now we're kind of getting down to the cellular level, and you're starting to understand not only disease processes, but more of the microbiology that's behind that, and immune system, and vaccination, and all of those kinds of concepts there come in. And another elective, you get another elective there in term 1. In term 2, health in a global context. So we start to expand our thinking from being maybe close to home to looking perhaps outside Canada and worldwide, and looking at what health looks like outside of our own context. Health promotion and caring clients with health challenges too. So again, another placement for you there. And 2 electives this time that you can choose in term 2. So before we get into what does 4th year look like, we pause here and we talk about AY4, which is the accelerated year 4 that we offer. This is an opportunity that will be, you'll have plenty of time, you'll be given lots of information about it ahead of time, but it's an opportunity for 120 students to complete their 4th year and graduate in December as opposed to the following spring. So essentially you're finishing 3rd year, and instead of taking the summer off and starting up again in September like you normally would, you keep going and you go right into your 4th year after your 3rd year is over. You graduate in December, and it's not for everyone, right? That's not for everyone, but it is for a lot of students. They like to keep that momentum. The end is in sight and they can see it and they want to go for it. So you've got plenty of time to think about something like that, but that's something that will be presented to you when you're in your 3rd year. We do have an elective opportunity in Rwanda. It's a small group that goes to Rwanda usually for the month of May, so about a 4-week placement, and that ends up counting as an elective credit for you. And you'll receive a ton more information about that as well when that time comes, but a super exciting opportunity that is of great interest to a lot of students. Year 4. So year 4, term 1, you can see there you take an ethics and legal obligation class, which is exactly what it sounds like. You take a future directions in healthcare. You can even tell by the names of these courses that we're starting to think a lot bigger and starting to think more in a global context. A couple of electives there, and you do get a placement in here. Now, your placements are, there's thought put into where you are placed so that you're not placed in a very similar setting each and every time you have a placement, because we want you to have a diverse experience and be exposed to as much as possible to allow you to really experience what it's like to be a nurse in these different environments. And so there is a fair bit of care put into selecting sites that allow you to do that, to really experience the diversity that's out there. In term 2, very exciting because this is like the capstone to your student career. It's your IP, your integrative practicum. And this is where it all comes together. So you spend a term. It's a preceptored experience, which means it's one-on-one, you and a practicing nurse, and you essentially work full-time alongside that nurse for approximately 456 hours to really allow everything to kind of come together and to sort of gain your independence. At the beginning of that IP, students are still maybe finding their way and learning to be more autonomous. And by the end of that experience, these nurses are ready to just step right on into the workforce when they're finished. And so there's really a whole lot of growth and just excitement that goes on in terms of the IP practicum. So it's a super exciting time, nursing students who are in their IP. Okay, I know there's not a lot of you probably watching that are particularly interested in the compressed time frame program. In case there are, that's why it's here, but also for some of you, it's exciting to know that this program exists, right? We don't do these presentations to you to try and persuade you to, come to Western and choose this program. We want you to choose where you fit and where you feel happy. And sometimes students like knowing that if they kind of are on the fence and haven't made up their mind, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? And if they choose to do something else, they can still come back to nursing without having to invest a further 4 years. That's how it was explained to me once, and I liked it. So that's how I'm explaining it to you this time. So the compressed time frame program, it's a 19-month program. It is a compressed program of 5 consecutive terms. So it begins in September, year 1, September, and ends in April of year 2, right? So 19 months, just shy of 2 years. This is not a direct entry from high school program. So applicants for this program need to have at least 10 university credits, but truthfully, the majority of students who come to our program or come to this program already have a degree in something else. Sometimes multiple undergraduate degrees, sometimes graduate degrees, sometimes all kinds of certifications. But it's just I want to sort of reinforce that it's not a direct entry program. Okay, what I didn't talk about much, because I wanted to talk about it more now, is in year 2, along with your supporting health theory class, you'll have skills labs that will teach you all kinds of, skills. So if all the physical assessment sort of gets learned in those labs in first year, and in second year, we take that knowledge of physical assessment and start learning some of the skills associated with intervention. So hard sort of skills like wound care, dressing changes, catheter insertions, medications, injections, oxygen, IVs, etc. But we also have a simulation course, a 12-week simulation course that you take, which is a fully immersive simulated hospital acute care experience where students are able to work in a very small group with one clinical instructor, and we simulate. I say we because I teach in here, so I'm a little biased that I'm very excited about it. But we run the sessions kind of like a shift in a hospital. Right from entering in the morning and introducing yourself and finding out a little bit about how the patient is feeling, to deciding what body systems do I need to assess and what treatments do I need to provide, what medications do I need to administer. It all happens there. We use a combination of mannequins, because we'd like to be able to simulate things that you can't necessarily simulate on a live person. If I want to simulate that my patient has a very low blood pressure and a very high pulse, I can do that with the simulators. But we also use standardized patients. And standardized patients are live actors, and we hire them from the Schulich School of Medicine, and they work in all kinds of healthcare contexts. But it's really a special experience for students to have standardized patients come in and act as their patients. It's a unfamiliar face, and it's a chance to put some of their skills and abilities to use in context. And the best part of the standardized patients is that they provide feedback afterward. So not only is the clinical instructor in simulation able to provide that in the moment feedback that is so important for a learner, but the standardized patients can do it too. They're trained in how to provide the kind of feedback that's appropriate to the level of knowledge of the student, and in ways that help build their confidence and give them goals to work toward. And it's a really awesome experience in the simulation suite. I don't know how else to describe it. It really is. It feels like you're in a hospital. It sounds like you're in a hospital, and students love it. They start off nervous, and by the end they say, "Wow, I'm so glad that I was able to have this experience." Okay, so you can see a few more photos there. There's a number of labs, and there's a beautiful brand new simulation suite in our beautiful new building. I don't know how long I get to keep calling it a new building, but I'm going to keep calling it our new building. That's outfitted with everything that we need to have a really immersive acute care experience. So I sort of talked about some of these already, but why simulated practice? So many reasons why simulation. But certainly it's about building confidence. It's about patient safety. It's about repetition and being able to do things over again and see if the outcome changes. It's the immediate feedback in the moment. It's the reflection that's guided that happens afterward. There's a lot of really exciting benefits to simulation, and there's actually a lot of very exciting research coming out of our simulation program as well, that we're pretty proud of. Okay. So professional practice placements during the program. I keep mentioning acute care. Certainly there's acute care. There's also a lot of other practice partners that we have. We have partners in the community, in public health, in mental health, home care, long-term care. We have partners all around our LHIN that give us rich and diverse placement opportunities for our students. I mentioned the LHIN a couple of times, and so to just give you that visual, that's what it looks like. Whether that helps you or not, it's a very large geographic area, though. You can sort of appreciate that from the picture, but it's a very large LHIN, the Southwest LHIN, and so that's where we operate. And so our placements, our practice partners, they're all located within this LHIN. And you can see over here some of the locations that some of these placements specifically are in. But it's a real advantage that we have such a large LHIN. Okay, so when students, our students are finished, they're eligible to write the NCLEX. I say write, it's sit for the NCLEX exam. And after that time, they're able to apply for registration with the College of Nurses of Ontario. And so that's our regulatory body here in this province. Every province has one. And the number of places nurses work couldn't fit on one slide, I don't think, but these are just some of the places where nurses find themselves. And I'm reminded when I look at this slide to talk about how important it is to keep an open mind as a student when you're thinking about placements. I'm sure that there's a lot of you. I'm a Western grad. I graduated from this program in 2002, and I entered the program 100% certain that I would be a labor and delivery nurse. That didn't happen because I went to labor and delivery and realized this isn't what I thought it was. And I did something else completely with myself. So remember that you might have your ideas about what you are passionate about and what you want to do. And that's terrific. Don't let go of that. Just allow yourself to keep an open mind in terms of other experiences, because sometimes you just never know what's going to suddenly feel like home to you until you get there. And maybe you won't like every placement that you go to, but isn't that also, that's valuable knowledge as well, right? So do your best to kind of keep an open mind and really give each placement an opportunity to show you what it's all about, before you decide, you know, that you do or don't like it there. Okay. Program admissions. So I don't know how much time I necessarily need to spend on this, but you can see here that the Casper, right, has just been introduced. So that's a fairly new thing for us. And in terms of your grades, right, here they are here. There's always a question about math somewhere in there, the math, grade 11 math, a minimum of 65. And remembering, of course, that just achieving that doesn't mean that you're automatically admitted to the program. It's just, that's sort of it just has to be there. That's your prerequisite there. How to apply. Everything goes through OUAC. So whether you're applying to Western or you're applying to Fanshawe, it all goes through OUAC. And a lot of students often wonder, is Western and Fanshawe two separate choices? And the answer is yes, it is. Okay, I mentioned Casper already. Scholarships. Take a look here. Take a look here and poke around in the website and looking at scholarships, at bursaries, at awards. Really, really look at those hard and see what's available, and read that criteria and find out if you're eligible. Because there's a lot of scholarships. There's a lot of bursaries that are accompanied by a lot of money that you may be able to access, right? So really take a look at these and read them through and see if you can see yourself in any of these. The National Scholarship Program. So this is something fairly specific, but it is something that that is, you know, it's important for you to know about as a student if this speaks to you. The National Scholarship Program is prestigious, and you can see the criteria there: outstanding academic performance, you know, the express passion for the pursuit of learning, and demonstrating achievements and in leadership and those kinds of things. So that's one example of a scholarship. There's also smaller scholarships and awards. And so we would really encourage you to look at those really carefully. There it is. So that's our program in a nutshell. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and take my lead from Jennifer in terms of probably some questions and answers here.
No, we will wait to do the questions until the very end.
Okay.
But Jessica, we do have many questions in the Q&A. So thank you all so much for putting in your questions. Jessica, thank you so much for answering so many questions, which you didn't even realize you were answering during that presentation. And we will bring you back at the end. Thank you, Jessica. All right, so thank you all so much for putting in your questions. Lots of questions about offers. Just be patient. Our staff are definitely doing their best to answer your questions as they come in. In the meantime, though, before we get to our next session, which is going to be a mini lecture, I want you to meet your student panelists for the very first time. So can I please have Catherine, Francesca, Rissa, and Ira turn your videos on? You can leave your audio off, but turn those videos on so that everyone can see you. Okay, wonderful. There, the four of you are there. Welcome. So for everyone watching, these are current students at Western, and we're going to be getting to know them a lot later on with a student panel. But for now, we just want to get to know them a little bit. And so we're going to play a quick round of a game called 3, 2, 1, go. And the way this works is I'm going to read out a question or a statement, and then I'm going to count down from 3. If the statement applies to you or the question is a yes, your answer, you are going to throw up a Western W. Can everyone just show me a Western W? No one's confused by that. That's what I thought. Perfect. Thank you all. Okay. let's get to our very first question. Have you ever run into a professor or a lecturer somewhere on campus that was not in your class? So for example, you ran into somebody at the gym, in line for coffee, at an event on campus. 3, 2, 1, go. Everyone. Very cool. You know, that one's not surprising to me because while Western's campus is quite large, it still has that community feel. You know who your professors are. There's so much community built into your program. So very cool there. Okay, next question. We have a food question here. Who finds spoke bagels totally irresistible? 3, 2, 1, go. All of you, my goodness. Okay, so for our attendees, our future students, the Spoke is a restaurant on campus in our university community center, and they have amazing bagels. I mean, they've got great food altogether, but their bagels are infamous. So you'll have to try them when you get to campus. Okay, number 3. This is kind of like a confession. Who has taken a London Transit bus before on campus to go from one spot on campus to another spot on campus? Maybe you were going from residence building to the natural science building, for example. 3, 2, 1, go. We only have a couple confessions there, Francesca and Ira. I see you, Catherine. I see you, Rissa. I appreciate that. But Francesca and Ira, I hear you. Here's the thing, students. Yes, our campus is large, but you don't have to take the bus. You can most certainly walk anywhere you need to on campus, and you're seeing the students are nodding too. But sometimes there's a lot of buses that are coming onto campus. We have 10 different city buses that come onto campus, and sometimes you can't resist. It's raining and you're like, I have the bus pass, I'll just hop on the bus for a minute. So no shame in that. Okay, number 4. Who thinks they have a good secret study spot on campus? 3, 2, 1, go. Rissa, you put that W up really fast. You have to share now. What is your secret study spot?
Okay, real quick, I have 2.
Okay.
And I haven't been on campus in a really long time because of COVID, so sorry if I can't remember exactly what the building name is, but one of them is, oh geez, what is it? I can picture it. It's when you're going down the hill from UC building at the top of the hill. It's the one with all the flags outside. I want to say, like
it's the
foreign studies or something like that.
It's the international,
Yes.
it's where Western International is housed. It used to be the Ivy building, but you are correct. That is a fantastic spot. They've got a nice green wall. I like that one too. Rissa, did you have another one that you wanted to share?
I did. It's UC building. So the one right at the top of the hill that's on like the welcome book that everyone would probably have been emailed or seen, right in the big lecture hall in there. I guess it's not super secret, but I just love if there's no class in there. It's got beautiful stained glass windows, and like if the sun is shining in, oh my gosh, it's so nice and so like peaceful.
I love everyone sharing these because there are honestly so many spots on campus where you can study, not just in the nursing building, which is a very cool place to be as well, but lots of other places too. Okay, we're going to wrap up here. One final question. Who has used the tunnels on campus to get around? Not because it was bad weather, but just because there were tunnels and you were like, might as well use the tunnel. 3, 2, 1, go. Got a couple. Francesca and Rissa have used the tunnels before. Students, the tunnels are very cool. We have underground tunnels. So when it's winter and you don't want to put that jacket on, you have a way to get to some of our buildings on campus. That is it for now though. Students, thank you so much. You can go back to being in the background and answering some questions, and we will bring you back later to get to know you a little bit more. So thank you. You can turn your videos off now. All right. Let's bring you back now to some learning. Who has never been to a university lecture before? Probably a few of you. I'm very excited to share with you possibly your first university lecture. Amy Horton is the other co-associate director of undergraduate nursing programs. Jessica's the other one. And Amy teaches a course about clinical judgment. So I'm going to share my screen here, and we are going to get a little sample, a little mini lecture here all about clinical judgment. Let's see if we can get it going here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Horton, and I am full-time faculty here at Western University in the School of Nursing, and I'm also the co-associate director of the undergraduate BSCN program. I've been asked today to provide a lecture that would be reflective of something that is important within the nursing program here at Western University. And there are so many wonderful topics and concepts that we discuss in the program, so it was hard to pick just one. However, one of the concepts that is threaded throughout the program is that of clinical judgment, a topic very important to how we function as practicing nurses. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to introduce you to Tanner's clinical judgment model for the next few minutes. So there are many attributes that a nurse needs to possess in order to provide the best care possible to patients, but one of the most important concepts or development of these attributes is something called clinical judgment. This is a concept that will guide the majority of your learning at Western School of Nursing. So what is clinical judgment? The concept of clinical judgment in general refers to interpretations and inferences that influence action in clinical practice. In general, it is an iterative process of a few components such as noticing, interpreting, responding, and reflecting during clinical scenarios. Clinical judgment is a combination of gathering data through what we refer to as noticing, where we use the patient's history, our findings in our physical exam, to then interpret the data based on knowledge we have gained throughout our education or throughout our experience in our career. We use both of these things to then respond in patient situations to provide evidence-based, patient-centered care. Nursing education, as I said, is really rooted in the development of clinical judgment as depicted here in Tanner's clinical judgment model. As I've mentioned, this model is circular, so you generally start in noticing and move along throughout the actual model, but at any time you can go back if you feel as though you need more evidence, more things to notice, if you think you need to reinterpret something. It's interactive, it moves fluidly between and among all aspects of the process. In order to make clinical judgments, the nurse employs a deep understanding of individual patient situations, as well as the nurse's own background in terms of their own experience and their own values. In essence, what does the patient bring to the interaction, but equally as important, what does the nurse bring to the interaction, as patient care really is a collaborative process. If we actually look at the clinical judgment model, it starts with the process of noticing. So what does the nurse notice about the patient? This really requires taking a holistic view of the patient situation and a willingness to consider factors involved in all aspects of patient care rather than its own individual aspects. We then are able to move on to interpretation, which helps the nurse decide how to respond. At first, this process is rather analytic, meaning that knowledge as a beginner really relies on concrete theoretical knowledge that we've gained. But as we move further along in our ability to critically think as practitioners, we start to use more intuition, which helps us interpret patient scenarios when, like I said, we become more competent. Sometimes you'll hear me refer to this in class as using our spidey senses to interpret what's happening. Once we decide as nurses how we're going to respond and act, the nurse then needs to reflect on whether it was the correct thing to do. So we need to evaluate and reflect during the interaction. So for example, was the medication that we gave the patient, is it helping? Is it reducing pain? So we do that in the actual scenario. And then at other times we can reflect on action. So this is thinking after the fact, how can we improve, what went well, what didn't go well. And this is because nurses are lifelong learners and are constantly improving in practice throughout their entire career. So again, that's considered reflection on action. Also within this model is the concept or idea of what exists behind the patient, or sorry, behind the nurse's eyes. This includes things like the nurse's knowledge, which can be from theoretical sources that are now being applied in a practical sense, which is what you'll have the opportunity to do at Western. The more you learn, the more you will add to your ability to critically think like a nurse. It also, another concept behind the nurse's eyes are our past experiences. Have you as a nurse seen this patient situation before? What other experiences might the nurse use from their own life that will influence the interaction? There are ethical perspectives that are noted. So these are grounded in the difference between what is right and wrong. And then also very importantly, knowledge and noticing comes from knowing our patient. And this isn't in a personal sense, this is more in the sense of being able to pick up on changes. So if you're a nurse and you were in the room 15 minutes ago, your patient was sitting calmly, quietly, watching TV, and then you enter 15 minutes later and you notice they're sweating, they're agitated, they're moaning. You're able to pick up on something has changed. You're noticing a change in your patient. And as we know, nurses are generally the healthcare provider that spends the most time with the patient. So we are best suited to quote unquote know them the best and pick up on these subtle changes. So if we look specifically at noticing within Tanner's model, what does noticing actually mean? So you can see here that the definition incorporates concepts such as observation, paying favorable attention to, or appraising a situation. Other words that are similar to noticing are to note, to see, to be able to detect, or to spot. And as you can imagine, these are important aspects when working with clients. And I think it's important to point out that noticing just isn't about your visual cues. It's also what the nurse is hearing, smelling, what you might feel or palpate as well. So it really involves all of our senses as a practitioner. Conversely, here you can see that the antonyms of the word noticing, so overlooking, ignoring, disregarding. Obviously, those are not words that you want to associate with nursing care, as overlooking, ignoring, disregarding aspects of nursing care can result in grave consequences in terms of patient safety and outcomes. So really noticing is one of our greatest skills as a practitioner, and we will use it to pick up on big changes or small things related to our patient and their environment. Examples could be we notice a change in our patient's body language, or we notice maybe not a change, just how it is that their body language is contributing to your understanding of them. Same as in facial expressions. Are they calm? Are they happy? Are they upset? How does that relate to what else you're seeing with your patient? Is there a lack of eye contact? What are their speech patterns like? Is it pressured? Is it quiet? Does it sound sad? You might enter the room and use the beeping of a machine as something that you notice. Again, using a different sense to notice something that might be happening with your patient. So subtle signs that may have otherwise go unnoticed are all part of your ability to notice as a nurse. So what do you notice? What do you notice in this slide here? What facilitates our noticing skills? There are lots of things that contribute to noticing. Other things that we haven't discussed yet are things like simple proximity to the subject matter, the lighting in the room. In this case, the dependence on electronics to appropriately show you this picture. It's also about, like I said, your own senses being fine-tuned. What is your ability to hear, smell, touch, visualize? Your perspective. So what do you focus on in this picture? What might you be missing? Are you able to look at things? Are you able to look at this picture in a different way? It can, perhaps you are using your intuition right now in the fact that I'm saying you should be looking at this picture. And so your intuition is saying, why am I showing you this picture? Do you get the sense that there must be something else in it that you should be noticing? And then, have you seen this picture before? And know that it's not simply a picture of a couple in what seems like a lake setting with a beautiful tree, but in fact that there's also a baby that's superimposed within that picture. Maybe now you can see that I've pointed it out. If you have seen it before, it's almost impossible not to notice. If you haven't seen it before, it's harder to pick up on. And again, that relates to experience. One of the exercises that I often will do in class to highlight how we notice things is to show this picture of the corner of Richmond and Dundas in London, Ontario, here where Western is situated. And I asked my class to spend a couple of minutes with the person beside them to try and think of 3 things, try and uncover or decide through noticing 3 aspects of this picture. So I asked them to talk about what time of day they think it is, what day of the week they think it is, and what month of the year they think it is in this picture. And usually this is a very interactive process and we do a lot of talking amongst ourselves. I'm going to just talk to you a little bit about what generally we talk about in more of a didactic sense. So if we look at time, if we notice in this picture what time we think it is, well, it's pretty easy to see that there's a clock here and it says that it looks to be at about 10 to 12 or 11:50. We can probably surmise that it's AM because the sun is out, people are on the street, the lights are not on, doesn't appear, so this does seem to be during the daytime. So 11:50 AM. Can we know that for sure? Do we know that maybe the clock didn't stop or the battery ran out? Well, did you notice that there's another clock up here? And so we're able to use that as another piece of evidence to decide that yes, in fact, this is probably correct. It's 10 to 12 on whatever day of the week it is. If we look at the month of the year, many of my students will guess that it's fall or spring, and they guess this related on the shadows that are appearing in the picture. I was astounded by this at first. I never considered for a second that the shadows would add to my clinical reasoning. I don't know about what shadows look like in the spring or fall, so it really didn't add to my clinical reasoning. But for them, it helped them decide that no, when you see long shadows like this, it generally means, you know, in relation to the position of the sun, and that generally happens in the spring or fall. So again, past experience, past knowledge, really important to how we notice things. So we could take the shadows and see if there's any other clues that might tell us what month it is. So we could look at, for example, what are people wearing? It looks to me as though there's a combination of short sleeves, some lighter jackets. I don't see any hats, I don't see any mittens, I don't see any snowsuits. If it was particularly hot, I don't think people would be wearing jackets at all. So we can pretty much rule out that this is winter or summer, but it does appear to be fall or spring. Well, we're not really, that's not enough concrete evidence for me to say one or the other at this. So what else can I use? Usually, you know, we could look for trees. I don't see any trees, so I can't look at the leaves to say, you know, they appear to be budding or they appear to be changing color and falling. Usually at this point, someone will point out, well, look at this sign here. That sign says welcome university students. When do we normally welcome university students? Generally in the fall. So that's another clue that helps us know perhaps this is more so in the fall time. Usually the students that notice this sign tend to be the ones sitting in the front. The people in the back usually don't detect it because they're further away and they aren't able to see it as well. So again, that proximity to your patient, to the subject matter, changes how you're able to notice something. So we might decide then, okay, it's 10 to 12 a.m. on a fall morning. What day of the week is it? This is a bit harder to land on. Oops. Some students will guess that it's a weekend day. And they'll say that, well, that's because we have a child here. And if it was a child, the child should be in school. Okay, what knowledge do I have of this child? Are they school age? I can't really tell that. They're smaller. Maybe they're 3, 4, 5. Maybe they're not in school yet. Maybe the mom or parents homeschool and that they just don't go to school. So it's a helpful clue, but it doesn't really help me land on anything. Some people will say, some students will say, well, this is a really busy time at this corner. So, you know, busy times tend to be on weekdays when people are bustling and hustling to get to work. Reasonable. But if we look at some of the other clues in this picture, what year or decade do we think this is? Look at the cars, the cars, look at the black and white photo, look at the styles that they're wearing. This is in obviously a number of decades ago. Would women be hustling and bustling to go to work? Likely not. Some students will say that they think if it's not a weekday, well, maybe all of these people are on the corner because they're going to church. Again, what would we be wearing to church in this time period? Wouldn't there be more children, et cetera, et cetera? Is this store open? We can't really tell. We can't really use that as a clue. There's a man here. I can't tell if he's looking to go into the store or if he's looking through the window because it's closed on a Sunday. So there's all sorts of clues that you can put together to try and decide the time, the day, and the month. So what's the right answer, you ask? Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. And that brings us to another important aspect of critical thinking as a nurse. There are often multiple right answers, all of which can be plausible. As you can see in this slide, asking which of the 4 numbers doesn't belong. Well, you could say 43 is not the square root of something. You could say that 9 is out of place because 1 plus 6 is 7, 2 plus 5 is 7, 4 plus 3 is 7, so 9's the outlier. 16 is the only even number. 43 is the only number with a larger number in front than the other ones. As nurses, we have to think about all of these plausible answers and interpret them to the best of our ability in order to provide excellent patient care. At Western, we will spend our time together showing exactly that, how to do just that, is critically think and use the evidence that you can gather to inform your critical thinking and your judgment. I hope you enjoyed that. I look forward to welcoming you to the School of Nursing at Western University and further discuss other important nursing concepts to help you in your career.
You know, there was a time when I thought that I was kind of an observant person. And then watching that, I was like, maybe I'm not so observant. I hope that you enjoyed that mini lecture, little taste of what is to come at the nursing program at Western. My goodness, if you haven't stood up yet, done a stretch, now is a great time. We are going into our home stretch for the webinar. We've got our student panel coming up, and then we'll try to squeeze in a couple last minute questions to answer live. But before we do that, I want to make sure that you're all still out there, that you're all still there and awake and engaged. So let's do a couple more polls. All right, let's see what we got here. A question for you. What are you most looking forward to when you start Western? Let's see here. What are you most looking forward to when you start at Western? Is it your program, meeting new people, moving away from home, trying something new, or all of the above? This is a hard question, I think. I was really excited to move away from home. I was quite excited for that, but my program was exciting too, so I don't know. I'd have a hard time answering this one too. So I'll give you a couple more seconds here. Ready? Get your vote in. 3, 2, 1. 59% of you said all of the above. It's all kind of exciting, isn't it? 33% of you, though, said the program, and I'm sure that makes all of our nursing folks very excited to hear. Okay, let's do another question. This question is actually going to be a quiz about our alumni. Let's see if you know anything about alumni at Western. Who of these 4 people went to Western? Marvel superhero Simu Liu, Canada's first female astronaut, Roberta Bondar, blogger and TV star Lainey Liu, or DJ duo Loud Luxury. Who went to Western? Just take a guess. We're not grading you. It's okay. I know this one's a little bit more tricky because the votes are coming in a little bit slower. So I'll give you another second or two. Get your vote in. Who went to Western? We're going to close it in 3, 2, 1. 64% of you said Canada's first female astronaut, Roberta Bondar, is a Western alum. And you're correct. But guess what? The rest of you are also correct. It was a trick question. We had to do it. All of these people went to Western. Marvel superhero Simu Liu went to Western. Lainey Liu went to Western. And DJ duo Loud Luxury, all alumni from Western. So you're all right. Okay, final question. This one is not a quiz. This one is just about you. There's no wrong answer to this one. It's just, have you decided if you'll be joining Western in September? Yes, so excited, can't wait. I think so, but it's not official yet. Or still waiting, still making my decision. Where are you at with thinking about Western in September? Yes, you're answering this one much quicker than the quiz. All right, a couple more seconds here. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Let's see those results. 61% of you are still waiting to make your decision, and that's totally okay. 29% of you, yes, you're excited to come to Western. We're excited to welcome you. And 10% think so, but not official yet. That's great. Thank you all so much for participating in our polls. We appreciate getting to know you a little bit. And now we are going to get to know our current students a little bit better. Catherine, Francesca, Rissa, and Ira, please join me now with your videos and your audio, and we will get to know you. Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
All right, let's start with some introductions. So students, I'm going to get you to, well, you've already said your name, but we'll get you to say your name anyway. I know it's on the screen, but just in case. And you can let us know what year you're in and also where you're from. So Francesca, let's start with you.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Francesca. I am a 3rd-year nursing student and I am from Hamilton.
Excellent, not too far from London. Welcome.
No.
Catherine, why don't you go next?
Hi everyone, my name's Catherine. I'm in my 3rd year as well at the Western Fanshawe Nursing Program, and I'm from Ottawa.
That's a bit more of a drive, isn't it, to get to London? Rissa, how about you go now?
Hi, everyone. So my name is Rissa. I'm also in the 3rd year of the nursing program. I'm going to be doing the Accelerated Year 4 program. So I'm going to be doing school through the summer. So if anyone has any questions about that, I can answer that to the best of my ability. And I'm from Coburg, which is a really small town, about an hour and a half east of Toronto.
You know what's cool is it's all down the 401. You know, you go Ottawa, keep going down the 401, you'll pass Coburg, pass Toronto, and then get yourself to London. I love it. All right, last but not least, Ira.
Hi everyone, my name is Ira. I am currently in my 2nd year of the collaborative nursing program, and I started at the Fanshawe site, so I'm really excited to move into my 3rd year and merge with the Western site in September. I'm also the incoming president of the WFNSA, so that's the Western Fanshawe Nursing Students Association. So if you get into this program, I hope to see a lot more of your faces next year. And I grew up in London, Ontario. I don't know if I mentioned that. So yeah, and that's me.
Perfect. Thank you all so much for being here. Now, Ira, that was a great segue into talking about the different sites. So students, if you can just raise your hand, who started at the Fanshawe site? Catherine and Ira. And then Francesca and Rissa, you both started at the Western site? Excellent. So we have both. So what I'd love to hear is a little bit about your experience starting in the nursing program. So everyone here had a different experience, whether you started at the Fanshawe site or the Western site, whether you were living in residence or maybe you were living off campus. And so I'm going to kind of tailor this specifically to you. So Ira, let's start with you. You were at the Fanshawe site and you are from London, so you weren't living in residence. So my first question is, what was it like starting and not being in residence? Because we will have students who live off campus like you. What was that like? Was it difficult to get involved and meet people during O Week?
Yeah, definitely. That's a good question. So I felt like it was a really good experience, even though I wasn't living in residence. I know that a lot of the first years who did live in residence, a lot of their friend groups were created that way. And I'm sure many of you have seen that in past years. For me, I'm a very outgoing person to begin with, so I didn't really find it difficult to make friends. And I also was part of the student council since first year. So just getting out there and being like outgoing and getting involved in extracurriculars really helped me kind of step out of that bubble and meet new people, even though I wasn't living in residence. I'm also a mature student, so I have a previous degree. That's why I didn't really attend like the O Week and the orientation weeks at Western. So, but I still made a lot of friends, and a lot of the students in my nursing program were actually friends from my pre-health program the year before. So I knew a lot of students going in already. So it really depends on where you're coming from. So yeah, I really enjoyed my first year experience.
Excellent. And I know for our students who are living off campus, if they are part of O Week, you still can be part of everything as an off-campus student. You still have mentors. We call them softs. You can still attend everything. You're definitely still part of it. Catherine, I want to go to you next because you were also at the Fanshawe site with, like Ira was. What was it like being on the Fanshawe site for your first 2 years and then coming to Western for third year?
Yeah, it was a very good experience. Starting out at Fanshawe, I stayed in the residences at Fanshawe. And when I started the nursing program, I didn't know that that was an option. So with starting at the Fanshawe site, you get to stay in the residences at Fanshawe. And it's very similar to the Western experience. My residence was very close to my classes, so that was really helpful. And it's very like a close-knit community, and I got to meet some really good friends in residence. So it was a very cool experience to start at Fanshawe.
And now in third year, you're with everyone, right? Because it's a bit of in class and a bit of your placements.
Yeah.
Francesca, you lived in residence at Western. Which residence were you in, and what was great about your residence?
So I was in Perth Hall. So basically it was a semi-private residence. So I was in a single room and I had another single room beside me, and we both shared one washroom. I loved it. I loved my experience in residence. I met so many great people. My favorite part was O Week, orientation week, the activities. You got to dance all the time, listen to music. They did a great job putting it on, and they really made you feel welcome. Like I was very nervous going away to school, but they did a great job making you feel welcome at Western. But the best part about Perth Hall is probably its like location, I would say. You have Barracat right beside it, which is a great restaurant. And it's very close to the Western Recreation Center too. So gyms are really close to the residents. And I know, like I said, I took the bus to campus, but I did walk at times, and I would say it's about a 5-minute walk to the middle of campus. But in the cold weather, if need be, you can take the bus. It's right outside the residence, which is also awesome. So
All of the residents, is that the great part about residences at Western and at Fanshawe too? They're so close to your classes no matter where you are, which is great. And Rissa, what residence were you in, and what was your favorite part?
So I was in Delaware Hall. We call it Delhi. So I was super, super excited to be there because it's actually the residence that has the nursing floor on it. So we have at Western these things called living and learning communities, and I believe in those kind of subsets. So everybody who was on my floor with me was, oh wait, have people lagged? Am I laggy?
You're okay. You're okay.
Did I get laggy?
It was a little blip, but we're okay.
Okay, I'll just keep going. Please let me know. Somebody wave or something. So sorry, like I was saying, I was on the nursing floor. So everybody that I lived with took all my classes with me. I got to know everybody who was taking the same courses. So it was a really nice way to just kind of build an extra sense of community on top of everything else. I actually ended up living with 3 of the women that I met on that floor. So that's kind of how I got into my roommate situation for these last 2 years. So that was a nice little transition as well. But I liked Delaware because it is really close to campus. Like it's right on campus. It's like maybe a 4-minute walk from the nursing building, maybe 5 from like the middle of campus. So it's really good proximity wise. Plus it's small. So I don't know, it was a traditional residence as well. So unlike Francesca's with Perth Hall, we had like the one bathroom where everybody uses it and it's all stalls, and I don't know, it felt kind of like I was at camp or something, because you just get so close with everybody. And I know everyone really focuses on having a bathroom of your own or something, but honestly, the bathrooms are fantastic at Delaware. They were just updated. So don't worry about that if you're worried about sharing bathrooms with anyone. It was actually a really nice experience to be that close with everyone.
Yeah, something to add to that bathroom situation. I myself was in a traditional style as well. Everyone has different schedules. So everyone's like, showering at different times and using the bathroom at different times. So you're fine. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences in residence and where you lived. I want to jump to a different topic about what you like to get involved with on campus. I'm going to make an assumption here that most of you or all of you here have done something on campus, whether it's a club, a sport, a part-time job. So we'll go through each of you. You can share your favorite extracurricular that you were involved with at Western. Maybe I'll make Francesca go first this time.
Okay, so I was involved in a few things on campus over like the few years I've been here. I was a FRA first year, so kind of like a SOF, but in the winter time kind of thing. And I've been a part of a few clubs as well, but my personal favorite was probably this year. I was a campus tour guide. So basically I'm employed with Western, and unfortunately with COVID, we weren't allowed to really do in-person tours this year, but we were still involved with a bunch of different online events this year. But I'm looking forward to continuing or applying to that next year. So basically campus tour guides, they lead the little groups on campus and show you like tours around the campus. I think Arissa can speak more to that because she's done that for a few years, but yeah, I was really excited for that and I'm looking forward to learning more about it. So.
Thank you, Francesca. We're happy to have you as a tour guide. Rissa, do you have a different extracurricular that you were involved with?
Sure, yeah, I won't pile on with the tour guide stuff. Like Francesca said, I was a tour guide the year before her, and then I actually did one of her interviews with her, so I was very excited to see somebody who was in lab with me show up for the tour guide interviews. Yeah, what's a different extracurricular? I won't steal WFNSA because I think maybe Ira might want to talk about that. I was so I'm not actually part of it this year because everything did move online, but last year and also in first year, I was a part of Best Buddies at Western, which was my favorite thing ever. And I'm really hoping that they'll be able to get back to doing some in-person things, hopefully before I end up graduating. So for those of you who don't know, Best Buddies isn't a university-specific organization. It happens at high schools around the country as well. But pretty much you can have 2 roles in it. One is you can be a buddy, which is your little terminology, where you get partnered up one-on-one with an adult in the London community who has a developmental disability, and you kind of just hang out with them like once or twice a month, and you go for coffee or go bowling or whatever. It's just nice to kind of get to know them and be a buddy for them. And then they also have just general members, which is what I ended up doing with the nursing program. Just because that was kind of fit easier with my schedule. So general members, you have like Valentine's Day stuff and Halloween and Christmas. They have these fun little activities for major holidays. And you go to the big group events where you get to see a bunch of buddies all at the same time, and you kind of get to know more people that way. So yeah, I just really enjoyed it, and I'd suggest it for anyone who wants.
It sounds like a very worthwhile experience. Thank you for sharing, Rissa. Ira, let's go with you next. I think we know what yours is. It's perhaps your president role.
Yep, you guessed it. Yeah, so I've been pretty much involved since my first year, whether it was the student council, as a peer mentor, a volunteer at the open houses. I've attended each one at the Fanshawe site since the first term of my first year, and I really enjoy doing these. But my favorite extracurricular would have to be joining the WFNSA beginning in my first year as year one representative. I was very shy and did not expect to join student council at all, like throughout this program. So it was kind of a spontaneous thing that I decided to do, and it really opened a lot of doors for me and opportunities, whether it's volunteer experiences or joining the charity subcommittee. There's so many opportunities on student council, and just working your way up if that's the route that you want to go with. So this past year, in my second year, I was the VP Collaborative Liaison. So I was actually in charge of planning the orientation at Western and at Fanshawe for the incoming first years, and I had a lot of fun doing that. So I really got to know the first years this past year, and really helping them with that transition, especially during this year where it has been very challenging with the pandemic and everything. So that was kind of my experience with student council, and also working with Rissa, who was our wonderful year 3 rep this past year. So yeah, I really enjoyed my experiences, and just building my confidence and leadership skills throughout my first 2 years has been all due to joining student council and meeting so many like upper years and mentors and building those friendships. I credit that all to joining student council. So I highly recommend, if you guys are interested next year, to get involved with the WFNSA.
Thank you for sharing. We need leaders like you to be part of our community, so we're happy to hear that. And Catherine, your favorite extracurricular you've been involved with?
My favorite extracurricular that I've been involved with at Western since year 1 would be playing on a sports team at Western. So I joined the varsity women's squash team at Western. So that was a very cool experience. It was one of the reasons why I wanted to come to Western, to come for the great nursing program and sports teams. So it was really cool to travel and represent Western in Kingston, Toronto, Guelph, different places around Ontario. So it was a very cool experience to balance my schooling and be able to play varsity sports. So that's probably one of the highlights so far.
Any tip, Catherine, for how to balance being a varsity athlete and also being in a nursing program?
I would say that prioritizing and making like a to-do list would be very helpful. I think that in first year, I loved to do everything. So I was trying to get involved in nursing stuff, sports stuff, studying, and I think totally go out and do that and meet people and residents and everything. But I think in the end, really prioritizing what needs to get done. And it's okay to say no sometimes, even though you really want to do everything, but be important to not spread yourself too thin so that you can do everything that you want to do.
One of the great things about our programs in Western is that there are so many opportunities. So it's okay to want to do them, and then it's okay to also say no. I appreciate that. All right. I want to do kind of a rapid question, a rapid answer with this one. It's going to be, what has been your favorite course so far that you've taken? And also, what has been your favorite experience that's been more of a practical experience, whether it was something in a lab or something in a placement like a hospital. And we're going to do this one quick because then we have 2 important questions that we want to get to before we finish. So the course and whatever experience has been your favorite so far. Francesca, do you want to go first?
Sure. So my favorite nursing course was probably the professional practice course. So I think it was like 1080 was the course code, or 2230. But anyways, you had the like in-class learning, and then you had the lab component. So it was really cool with all the simulation patients. That's where I found I learned most. My favorite elective was psychology 2030, the maladjusted mind. Really great course as well. But my greatest like simulation, or what was the experience was my 3rd year, 1st semester placement. I got placed at Victoria Hospital, orthopedic trauma. It was the best thing I've ever done. And I didn't really consider it before I came to like the nursing program, but it's something I'm now considering for the future. So you get to see a lot of like car accidents, like breakage of bones, like head injuries. It was a lot of cool stuff. And yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I think Jessica said it earlier, which was great. You get to find out what you like and what you don't like. And that's the great thing about having different placements. They're both very valid, very important things to learn. Okay, Catherine, favorite course and favorite experience that was hands-on that you've had?
I think right now my favorite course is probably the third year microbiology course, just because it is so relevant to COVID-19 right now. We learn about bacteria, viruses, pandemics, epidemics, and I think that's really cool with everything going on right now. And my favorite moment, clinical moment, would be in my third year first placement when I gave my first injection. I thought that was like mind-blowing, really cool. So that's definitely something I'm going to remember.
Thank you so much for sharing. Rissa, favorite course and favorite experience so far that was hands-on?
Okay, does the course have to be a nursing course?
No, it does
Probably
not.
should. No, it doesn't? Okay.
No.
I do love all the nursing courses. I'll preface it with that. They've all been fantastic experiences. All the profs are fantastic. My favorite course is one that I'm taking right now, though, and it's the history of forensics in Victorian England. And it's like a Sherlock Holmes course, essentially. It's so cool. Yeah, if you like Sherlock Holmes stuff, please take it. It's amazing. The prof is so awesome. That's my favorite course. My favorite experience clinically would probably be I had the tremendous opportunity to actually switch a placement with one of the friends who was on the nursing floor with me last year. She got a pediatrics placement and inpatient peds placement at Victoria Hospital, and she doesn't like children. She knew that it wasn't going to be up her alley, or at least she thought so. So she was wanting to switch it, and I snatched it up from her. Thankfully, I've always wanted to work in pediatrics, or at least try it. And it was amazing. I had a wonderful clinical instructor, and I think my favorite part of it was probably doing like a head to toe assessment on a neonate, like an 8-day-old kid, and just seeing how tiny they are and kind of altering your assessment skills and altering it to be on a really, really tiny human.
I love hearing all these different experiences. I wasn't a nursing student, so this is very interesting to me. Ira, favorite course and favorite experience that you had hands-on?
Yeah, so my favorite course was probably microbiology as well, for the same reasons that Catherine mentioned. If I had to pick another one, so it's a third year course, but I was able to take it earlier. I love all the theory courses and writ in first year. I'm probably the minority for saying this, but I love writing essays. And after taking writ in my pre-health program, I really improved on my essay writing skills. So I feel like that's kind of my stronger suit in the program now. My greatest clinical moment in the program was probably during one of the simulation cases in my second year lab. So I had that in first term and everything was online. So it was kind of a challenge at first in September and October, but I was tasked with being the nurse in the simulation case, our very final one. So it was a little bit more challenging, and it was individual. You didn't have another student or a nurse to bounce ideas off of or fall back on if you made a mistake or get ideas from. So it was very challenging, but at the end of the day, it was probably the most helpful, and it went really well too. So yeah, it was a palliative care case, and the patient and their family, the patient had cancer, and so it was kind of a new case scenario that none of the second years really got to assess before. So it was just challenging overall, but really interesting to learn as well, especially when it was an online format as well. So that was probably my favorite experience in my clinical practice in second year.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing your courses and your experiences. I hope that got some of our prospective students a little more excited for what could be to come in the next 4 years. Now, I am very mindful of the time. We are running low on time, and I've got 2 very important burning questions here. So we're going to try to get the answers out as quickly as possible. Number 1, why did you choose Western? You're going to sum it up in 30 seconds or less. Let's make Rissa, you're going to go first. You're going to do it rapid fire quick. I believe in you.
Okay. So, oh gosh, a lot of reasons, man. This is hard. One of the great opportunities that was specific to Western, I applied for one of the national scholarships that Western puts out to everybody. I ended up getting an interview, which was wild. I didn't think that was going to happen. So I got to come to Western, got a wonderful tour, and got to see it firsthand for another time around. And I ended up getting the nursing scholarship that they do. I'm not saying that's the only thing, but I just wanted to mention it because it was such a tremendous deciding factor in terms of why I did end up going to Western, because it helped a bunch. And it was something that I definitely didn't see coming my way. So it was a nice little extra thing.
Thank you for sharing and congratulations. That's such an honor. Francesca, why did you choose Western?
So basically before COVID, I got to see the school like in person, and just being on campus really made me love the school itself. That was my deciding factor. But for the nursing program, there was the new there still is the new nursing building. It's gorgeous on the inside. If you ever have a chance to check it out, that's definitely a must see on campus. And also another big thing for me was I love to eat, and all the residences have cafeterias in them. I loved that you don't have to travel anywhere else to get food. You can just go downstairs and it's ready right there for you. So that was definitely something I considered too. But overall, like Western, when I got there, I knew it was the school for me. So
That is valid. Pajamas acceptable at all times in the dining halls. I've always appreciated that myself. Ira, why did you choose Western?
Yeah, so I chose Western because like I said, I completed a previous degree actually at Western. So I have a degree in health sciences before I went into nursing. So I was very familiar and comfortable with the campus, and I really enjoyed my university experience there. So I thought I'd come back for round two, and I actually got offered admission to both sites of the full 4 years at Western, or the collaborative with Fanshawe. So I chose the Fanshawe side just because I wanted the experience of the college and the university experience combined. And again, I completed pre-health before that at Fanshawe, and I really loved the small classes and getting to know your profs. And I built a lot of close friendships in my pre-health program as well. So yeah, that's why I chose this program.
Thank you so much for sharing. And finally, Catherine, why did you choose Western?
I chose Westerns for 3 simple reasons. One, I wanted to be outside of Ottawa for university. I wanted to branch out. Western had a great nursing program, and then great sports teams as well. When I visited the gym, I was like, yeah, this is a cool place for me. So it was great program and great sports.
Nice and simple. I appreciate that, Catherine. Totally agree with you there. Okay, final question. I really want to get this one. It is really my favorite question to ask of our current students. And it's, what advice would you give to your high school self about starting university? You have knowledge now. You've been through it. So if you could look back at yourself and give yourself a little piece of advice before you started university, what would that piece of advice be? Ira, why don't you start us off?
Sure. So my number one tip for incoming first year students is to remember that grades are not everything. You don't need a 90 to 100% average in every one of your courses, which many of you are probably used to aiming for in high school. So that's kind of a really big jump when you get into university. So whether you are struggling in a course or the workload is just too much, what's most important is to take care of your mental health and reach out when you need help before it's too late. The instructors and the academic counselors are all here to help and create a plan for you. So always remember that your mental health comes first, and to take care of yourself, because you won't be able to take care of others as a nurse if you don't. So that's my main tip. And lastly, get involved with student council or any other extracurricular activity, because school is not your life and it shouldn't be.
It is definitely a combination of school and your experiences. We appreciate that, Ira. Thank you for sharing. Rissa, what advice would you give your high school self about starting university?
I'd probably say, I definitely agree with Ira on everything that she said, so I'm trying to make it a little bit more original. I'd say chill out, chill out and self-care. I know that was really drilled into us right in the first year of nursing, and it keeps happening in every course that we go into. Self-care and the importance of self-care, especially if you're going into nursing. Like Ira said, you can't take care of other people if your mental health or well-being is not being taken care of as well. So I made sure to figure out a bunch of ways that I can just kind of take a breather and care for myself, especially when things are super busy, like during midterms or finals or whatever. I was a dancer for a large part of my life. I was in competitive dance for like all of elementary school and high school. So I made sure to find a dance studio that I really liked, and I go to it still during COVID, when it's open during COVID, about once a week, because that's my time to just chill out and kind of take a load off of the work that I'm doing. Yeah, I find exercising is probably fun. I'm sure Catherine will second me on that with all of the, like, make use of the rec center if it is open during COVID stuff. Yeah, exercise has been a nice extra bit of self-care I've found over the last 3 years.
You know, the truth is being a university student is inherently stressful. That's just a fact. And having your ways, your good, healthy ways to cope with it are very important. So thank you for sharing your experience, Rissa. Catherine, what would you tell your high school self? What advice would you give?
I would say to get out of your comfort zone and meet new people and sign up for new things that maybe you wouldn't have in the past, and meet people in residence, in your program, in clubs, or anything else. And I would just say also to, like I said before, don't spread yourself too thin, but go out there and be outgoing. And then also remember that sleep is important too.
Don't forget about sleep. Very good advice, Catherine. And finally, Francesca, what advice would you give?
I don't know. I would basically agree with everyone with what they said. That's exactly what I would tell myself too. But at the same time, it's normal to feel like really anxious and nervous going into a new environment. But at the same time, you have to think that everybody or majority of people are going to be in the same boat as you. Everybody's probably nervous. It's a new first time for everybody. So just get out there and just be yourself. I think that's a big one. Just be you. And I think you will enjoy your time at Western. I can almost guarantee it.
Excellent. Students, thank you so much for sharing all of your experiences. They definitely help our first year students, our incoming first year students, to feel a little bit better. And look, everyone, you've got 4 friends already right here, these friendly faces that you're going to meet once you're a student. Thank you so much. And we are definitely a little bit over time. So we are not going to do any live Q&A here at the end. And that's just because our wonderful staff and students, they have been answering lots of questions for you all over that Q&A. So thank you so much for putting in your questions. But that is all the time that we have for now. So if you do have more questions, you can get in touch with us. There's lots of ways to do so. You can go to welcome.uwo.ca and click on connect with us. And then we've got all the different ways. You can do a virtual tour. You can talk to our students, talk to our applicant advisors, whatever information you need. I'd like to give a huge thank you to all of our students and all of our presenters. Jessica, Victoria, thank you so much for presenting, to all the staff behind the scenes for answering the questions. It really took a whole team tonight to make it happen, and we're happy that you could be here. And of course, to all of you, thank you for coming and being interested in nursing at Western. We wish you good luck on your journey to university, and good night. We will end it there. Goodbye, everyone.